Hello, this is Astrologer Coach Sonja Francis, and today we're going to be talking about the upcoming new moon in 7 degrees of Gemini, which will be exact on May 28th at 2:40 p.m. East Coast time in the US and 11:40 a.m. West Coast time in the US. Now, the new moon is always a new beginning for this coming new moon cycle. And so, therefore, it's an introverted time. It's a time where we have a potential for renewal and new beginnings, and we're planting seeds for the coming lunar cycle. And so, of course, planting seeds we can do in form of intentions. So this is a great time to set intentions for the next 4 weeks. And I will come back to talking about when is the best time to set those intentions at the end of the video. But first, let's talk a little bit about what the new moon in Gemini represents. What is that energy all about? So we know what kind of intentions to set, right? So Gemini is the third sign of the zodiac, and it's all about connecting and sharing. And kind of like it's a very versatile energy. It's a very curious energy. And it's a very quick energy, especially quick-witted because it's connected to the mind, right? So it's a very busy energy where we're focusing on communication, collecting information, and we're really invited also with this particular new moon to look at our mental programming and our conditioned mind, to see, what's working for us, what's not working for us. Maybe we need to let some things go. Maybe we need to create new thought structures. We're really trying to observe what is this mental process that we're in on a daily basis, because we're thinking daily. There are thoughts popping up on a daily basis, right? What is that about? And so Gemini is really asking us to stay in movement, to think about all the things that we need to know in order to move forward, to move to the next level, to connect to the things in our lives, to share the things in our lives. And it's really also an energy that has a lot to do with multitasking. We're very good at managing multiple things at the same time because we really want to stay engaged with life. We really want to stay connected to life, and particularly through our mental processes, right? So here's some questions you can ask yourself for this particular new moon cycle. So ask yourself, what is my inner dialogue? What's my mind saying to me that is no longer serving my evolution? Or what are my thoughts about? Are they helping me to manifest the things in my life that I want to manifest? Or is it counterproductive, what I'm thinking, right? And whatever you're observing, whether it's great stuff or not so great stuff, just ask yourself, if anything, is there anything that needs to change? Is there any kind of thought patterns or thought construct or structures that I need to take a closer look at and maybe be more mindful about and pay more attention to, right? Now, Mercury, the ruler of Gemini, will be in 29 degrees of Gemini, which means it's in its own sign, and it's in the last degree of its sign. And this is very potent. This is very important because the last degree of the sign is usually when the energies become very exalted. It becomes very big because it's sort of like it's the last hurrah before that planet moves into a new sign, right? And learns a new lesson. So there's a completion process that needs to happen around this sign, that we're needing to complete something. We're needing to finish something up before we can move on and to our next, learning experience, or to the next energy that we're trying to incorporate. Now, what are we trying to complete? The highest vibrations of Gemini has to do with development of perception, thought, and communication. So what we're trying to complete here is probably a long-term process that is connected to all of the above, right? So how are we perceiving things in life? What are our thoughts? How are we sharing what our thoughts and our thinking, and what's our inner dialogue, how we're talking to ourselves? So we're needing to find sort of like a mastery around this, because the completion of something means that we have mastered something, that we're ready to move to the next thing, right? So what's the mastery around these things? The other thing we can also take a look at is like what happened when Mercury entered Gemini on May 7th. Because when Mercury entered Gemini, that was the beginning of that energy that we started to connect to. And now with this new moon, Mercury's leaving that particular energy. So what began on May 7th, what's now being completed in regards to communication or thought processes or kind of information that we've collected or that we're learning about, and how can we become really good at or find that place of mastery before we move on. Now, so this is all important for this particular lunar month, right? Now, whenever we're making new connections with our thoughts, whenever we have a new thought, a new memory, and whenever we're holding a particular thought for a long time, we're creating new pathways. And this is very important because our thoughts create our reality. The thought is the first thing that is part of the manifestation process. It's not the only thing, but it's the first thing. And so definitely if our thoughts are not in alignment with what we want to create and with what we want to have manifest in our lives, then the whole manifestation process is already out of whack, and it's already not in the place where we want it to be. So it's very important to pay attention to our thoughts. Now, the 29 degree of Mercury could also be a sign that our mind, because Mercury has connected to our mind, right? It's kind of like the last hurrah of the mind trying to establish its case that it is important in your life. So the conditioned mind tries to establish itself and say, listen to me, you're not safe in the world, you need me. But a lot of times these thoughts that just pop up out of our unconscious or just pop up inside of us, they're not always connected to what we really want to create in our lives. A lot of times they're connected to past conditioning or to a fearful thinking. And that could be part of our conditioning as well, of course, that fearful thinking, right? So it's very important to pay attention to that, right? In any case, no matter what it is, observe it as best as you can. And one thing that's really helping us with this is that Venus is in 29 degrees of Aries at the time of the new moon, which makes a really beautiful connection to Mercury. And so that means that we're really we have an opportunity here to really connect the mind with the heart. And we're able to really, if we're ready for it, if we're doing the work, if we're taking the right actions, right, we're able to jump into the unknown with courage, to take initiative, and to have some enthusiasm. And it's really what helps us get more in touch with our heart, and then come from the heart place when we're thinking the things that we want to manifest, right? So it's definitely, there's an opportunity to connect the two. And Venus is also aligning to the South Node at the time of the new moon, which means that the South Node is all about us needing to let go of our attachments, us needing to let go of obsessions that we have around relationships or financial matters. So Venus on the South Node just wants us to trust the process, come from the heart, in a natural, organic way, allow that flow of the heart space to be there without needing to grip, without needing to get fearful or obsessed in any particular way. Now, this combination between Mercury and Venus is definitely a great time for us for communication in terms of connecting to other people more from the heart and clearing up any misunderstandings that we may have, and also making some social contacts at this time that are more direct and more heartfelt on our part. So that's the good news with that aspect. There's another aspect with this new moon that's connected to Neptune, which is a little bit more of a challenging aspect because Neptune is in Pisces, Mercury is the new moon is in Gemini. So this is asking us to stretch ourselves because Gemini is all about the mind and the mental processes. Pisces is all about feelings and sensing and intuition. So we're really needing to stretch ourselves to be able to make space for both. Now, because Neptune is the slower moving planet out of the two, and is going to be in Pisces for a lot longer than this new moon, there is a sense that we need to focus on our intuition, and we need to make space for our intuition to be heard, that we need to listen to what we're sensing rather than constantly what we're feeling. And one thing that can really help us with this combination is to concentrate on artistic and spiritual pursuits right now, rather than doing something that needs more factual, straightforward thinking, because that may feel a little bit we may get a little bit confused, or we may get a little bit foggy about all the details of things right now, because Neptune wants us to just connect from the heart, and Neptune wants us to connect to our intuition, to our higher selves on a more spiritual plane. And so we really want to avoid launching any new products at this time that are connected to anything that requires linear thinking. Anything spiritual or artistic is in alignment with that, so that would be fine. Now, one thing that's really going to help us get through this challenge with Neptune and the new moon is really connecting to our heart and connecting to the compassion place within us. Being compassionate with ourselves, being compassionate with other people, being in the flow of that compassion. Maybe slowing things down a little bit, even though our mind wants to speed up, making sure that we're also having time to slow down and calming the mind, or calming the energy body, calming the emotional body, right? Because the mind tends to want to speed things up. Now, one way we can definitely do that is, of course, through meditation or through mindful exercises. And that will be a great way also to rewire how our brain functions. So it's really an opportunity here to go beyond what we've done in the past with our mind or with our thinking processes, and really experiment to see, are there new ways we can use our mind, or are there new ways of thinking about our mind? What serves us, what doesn't serve us? How can we use the mind going forward in a way that resonates more with our inner selves, more with our intuition. Now, one thing you can ask yourself is, because how do we use this very powerful tool, which is called the mind? How do we use it? And really sit with that question. You don't have to answer it right away, but just kind of sit with that question and keep asking yourself that every day, and just say, how am I using the mind? How is it serving me? And then also another question that's important, I think, is how can we loosen our identification that we have when a thought pops up, right? So when the mind gets activated and thoughts start to go from one to the next, we definitely take it for granted that, our thoughts are always true, and that they're always in our best interest, or we feel so connected or so identified with our thoughts that we maybe don't even think about whether they are in our best interest or not. They just are there. And so we're not always very conscious of our thinking processes. And so it's maybe time to kind of let go of some of that identification that we have with thoughts. Because if you think about it, you don't know what your next thought is going to be. Thoughts just kind of pop up, which means that they're coming from either an unconscious place, or they're coming from a higher source, from an intuitive place. And so we have to kind of distinguish, like, what's intuitive and what's conditioned, what comes from that past place. And one way I've noticed to really create the difference between intuition and past conditioning is, if something feels very loving, and if something feels very zen and very calm and very neutral, and a lot of times also very subtle, that's usually intuition talking to me. But when something is persistent and obsessive in a way, when something's feels a little bit tense, then that's very often coming from conditioning. So when we feel sort of like a pulling or pushing, or we feel an obsessive type of energy connected to our thoughts. That is not intuition. Okay, so that's kind of how we can observe it and maybe differentiate a little bit and kind of get more of an idea of, how do we want to connect to our thoughts. Now, the new moon is also making a fantastic trine to Mars in Libra, so this is definitely a great time for us to connect to others, have social interactions. There's a flow there, there's an ease to move projects forwards that involve other people, and we're feeling supported, we're feeling heard. So this is really wonderful. And of course, since Mars is direct now and not retrograde anymore, this is really helping us to accomplish a lot of things with other people. So this is really great. So thoughts can really effortlessly lead to actions, especially if it's the kind of thoughts that we want to lead to action, right? So again, we need to observe, what are we thinking about? What are we putting out there? Because right now, being able to act on our thoughts is going to be very easy. So make sure that you have thoughts that you want to act upon. Now, with this full moon, also with this new moon, also just like 2 weeks ago with the full moon, we have a grand trine in place between Jupiter, Saturn, and Chiron. And that's taking place in the water signs, which are the emotional, intuitive signs of the zodiac. Cancer, Scorpio, and Pisces. And so with this grand trine in place, there's definitely a sense that we're provided by the universe with a sense of flow around feelings, our intuition. There's a really wonderful opportunity to heal our past or to heal old wounds right now. And we're getting the support also from loved ones in that regard. And we're feeling really more connected to our own humanity and being more accepting of other people's humanity and other people's flaws, right? Because being human means that we have some flaws. There's some stuff that maybe we're not good at, or there's some insecurities that we may have, and we're getting more comfortable with accepting that, and we're getting more comfortable with allowing people to see that about us, not having to be so perfect all the time. And that's really a wonderful thing with that grand trine. And we're really needing this energy of the grand trine right now, because April with the grand cross and with the eclipses, that was so intense and so powerful in terms of shifts and change that were going on. We're needing to really connect to our hearts now, and this is what this grand cross is also providing more fully, is connecting a stronger link between the head and the heart, and deepening our capacity for intimacy and intuition. So with this particular new moon, if you have 5 to 10 degrees of Gemini, Sagittarius, Virgo, or Pisces, any personal planets or personal points in your birth chart, then you're definitely going to feel this new moon more strongly this coming lunar month. And of course, personal planets and signs points are the Sun, the Moon, Mercury, Venus, and Mars, the rising sign, which is also the ascendant, and the MC, which is the midheaven, which is also the career point at the top of the chart. So if you have any of those signs and degrees, you definitely are feeling more connected to this month's new moon. But all of us, of course, we feel it somewhere in our chart. And so, feel free to reach out if you have any general questions about the new moon, about the signs or the elements or anything like that. I'm happy to support you as best as I can. You can email me at Sonja@AstrologerCoach.com. That's SONJA@AstrologerCoach.com. And there's some free things that I offer on my website and on my Facebook fan page. So if you guys want to be in touch on a weekly or daily basis with me via my forecasts, feel free to go to AstrologerCoach.com/blog. That's my weekly forecast. Or on my Facebook fan page, I have the daily forecasts at facebook.com/astrologercoach.sonjafrancis. Okay, and let's talk about setting intentions, because that's what the new moon is all about, right? So the intention setting, the best time to set intentions this time around is anytime between 2:40 p.m. on May 28th and 5:59 a.m. on May 29th, New York time, that is. And then there will be a moon void, of course. And then we can set intentions again on May 30th, which is a Friday, from 10:13 a.m. New York time until 2:40 p.m. New York time. And the reason for that is that we want to set the intentions within the first 48 hours of the new moon and only after the new moon has become exact. And we also want to avoid any moon void, of course, phases. All right. Now, if you do live in a different time zone than New York time, then definitely go to the internet, on Google. If you Google time zone converter, you can plug in the New York times and then plug in your own time zone and will convert the times for you. If you if you prefer not to do that because you're maybe internet challenged or computer challenged in some way, then definitely reach out. I'll be happy to help you via email at Sonja@AstrologerCoach.com. However, I also will be tweeting on my Twitter account whenever it's the best time to set intentions. At that time, I will let you know when you can set your intentions. So feel free to join me on Twitter at twitter.com/SonjaFrancis. What else is there to say? Oh, and of course, the intentions. The way you want to set the intention is you always want to set your intentions in the present tense, and you want to set them in such a way as if you've already accomplished what you want to accomplish. And you want to make sure that you line up the intentions with the new moon energies. So everything that we talked about in the video, you want to make sure that you line up the intentions with that energy. Okay, so feel free to listen to the video again if you are not clear about what you want to put into your intentions. All right, so have a fantastic new moon. Remember, it's an introverted time. It's a time where we go within, so meditation is a really great thing to do right around the time of the new moon. And have a really good one. Have a great lunar cycle, and I'll be back soon. This is Astrologer Coach Sonja Francis. Goodbye.